Hi, I'm Natalie from Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs, and today we're diving into one of the most exciting hydrangea innovations in years, the Proven Winners Color Choice Fairytrail series of Cascade Hydrangeas. These spectacular trailing hydrangeas bring a whole new look to your garden with their graceful arching stems and stunning flower power. In this video, I'll introduce you to all four members of the Fairytrail hydrangea family. Caring for Cascade hydrangeas is a little different than your typical big leaf hydrangea, so at the end of this video, I'll tell you how to plant and care for them so they thrive in your landscape or containers. Let's jump in. Fairytrail Bride Cascade Hydrangea was brought to North American gardens in 2022 after making a splash in the UK when it was awarded Plant of the Year at the 2018 Chelsea Flower Show. You'll love its unique horizontal growing habit with bright white lace-cap blooms that develop at every leaf cluster along graceful trailing stems. Its spring-born florets are filled with duckle-edged petals, bringing a frilly, lacy look to the landscape. The next two members of the series are the gorgeous Fairytrail White and Fairytrail Green Cascade Hydrangeas. Each shares the graceful habit of arching, cascading branches with a flower bud at every leaf node, but both are mop-head versions of the world-famous Fairytrail Bride hydrangea, one with bright white mop-head blooms and the other in cool, refreshing lime green. Finally, Fairytrail Fresco is the long-awaited colorful addition to this award-winning series of Cascade hydrangeas. Large mop-head flowers will be blue or pink, depending on soil chemistry. As with other varieties in the series, Fairytrail Fresco hydrangea sets flower buds at every leaf node, creating its distinctive cascading or garland-like effect. All four members of the Fairytrail series of Cascade hydrangeas are a stunning showpiece in hanging baskets and containers, cascading over retaining walls, or filling in mixed beds as a ground cover. Cascade hydrangeas are quite hardy. In fact, they're even a bit more hardy than conventional big leaf hydrangeas. However, because they bloom so much earlier in the season than other hydrangeas, their flower buds are more susceptible to damage from unexpected spring frosts and freezes. What I'm going to suggest with this variety is that you ignore everything you know about siting big leaf hydrangeas, which typically grow best in morning sun and afternoon shade. We have found that planting Cascade hydrangeas in sites where they are shaded in the morning is very helpful. This allows any ice crystals on the plant to melt away very gradually, reducing the risk of tissue damage. Cascade hydrangeas bloom on old wood or last year's stems. This means on those early spring nights and mornings, the ones that bring those late season frosts, covering them with sheets or light blankets when the weather threatens is still a great practice, similar to how you would treat conventional big leaf hydrangeas. Alternatively, these container-friendly hydrangeas can be stored for the winter in an unheated shed or garage. When overwintering any hydrangea inside, you'll need to keep the soil just barely moist, not wet or bone dry. Here's a good rule of thumb. Check the container every 2 to 3 weeks during the winter. If the soil is dry, about an inch below the surface, give it a light watering, just enough to moisten it without soaking. Do not water if the soil is still slightly damp or if the temperatures are below freezing, since the roots won't absorb water well and could rot or suffer damage. Since the plant is dormant, it won't use much water, but letting the root ball completely dry out can still harm it. A moisture meter can be helpful, but your finger works fine too. You can move your plant outside when the danger of frost has passed in your area. For most places, this means moving the plant outside when nighttime temperatures consistently stay above 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius. When you begin to transition your hydrangea to an outdoor environment, start slow. Bring it outside for just a few hours a day in a sheltered, shady spot, then gradually increase its exposure to sun and time outside over 7 to 10 days to prevent shock or sunburn. At this time, you can also check for any winter dieback and trim away dead stems. But remember, Cascade hydrangeas bloom on old wood. Hard pruning will also remove blooms, so be sparing with trimming. Deadheading only when possible. Once your hydrangea starts showing some green, it's time to begin a regular watering schedule, especially if it's in a container. If you're unsure about how much water to give it, test the soil a few different places around the root ball using your finger or a water meter. If the soil feels moist, don't water. If the soil feels dry, a couple inches down or almost dry, water thoroughly. Be sure to water all the way around the outside of the root ball. This is where the roots will be growing and searching for moisture. There are a couple signs that your hydrangea is well watered. First, the foliage is green and flexible, not crispy, which could indicate underwatering, or limp and yellow, which can indicate overwatering. Also, your hydrangea could potentially look wilted during a very hot day, but if it perks back up at night when it's cooler, it's just fine. It's just conserving its energy. Hydrangeas in containers will need more frequent, possibly daily watering, while shrubs planted in the ground like deep, less frequent watering. This helps them develop a healthy, deep root system. Hydrangeas also like to be watered at ground level. This not only saves water, but it can help prevent powdery mildew and black spot on its leaves. Watering below the foliage can also prevent premature browning of the blooms. Finally, in spring you'll want to start feeding your hydrangeas with a balanced, slow-release fertilizer, fertilizing once in early spring and again in mid-spring. Then stop fertilizing in early July so your hydrangea has time to stop putting on new growth that can't harden off before winter. And that's it. Thanks for joining me to explore the Fairytrail series of Cascade Hydrangeas. These unique beauties really do bring something special to the garden. With the right planting spot and a little care, they'll reward you with stunning blooms and an elegant trailing form all season long. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your favorite Fairytrail variety. Or let us know if you have any questions. Happy gardening, and I'll see you next time.